Brian O'Rourke here for the Gold's Gym Franchisee Association's Best Practice Series, video series. I'm very happy to be here today and share with you some basics behind digital media, or as what many people call it, social media, and how you can use these platforms and tools more effectively to drive your business. Some of the concepts we're going to talk about today have to do with Gary Vaynerchuk's most recent book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. For those of you who don't know Gary, he's a well-respected public speaker. He's been the author of two very successful books, The Thank You Economy and Crush It. He founded a wine library. And in fact, at URSA 2014 this year, he is going to be a keynote. So if you're going to be out in San Diego, I highly recommend you attend his session. I promise you, you're going to love it. Gary's thesis and mine as well is that while mobile and social are all the rage, many businesses and gym owners, I think included, haven't shifted an appropriate amount of resources and thought into how to utilize these networks more effectively. You might realize this when you go out to the airport or to a restaurant or coffee shop, the number of folks with one of these in their hands who are using it. Mobile now, smartphones are in the hands of almost 70% of U.S. adults. And in addition to those, this thing here, the tablet, is in the hands of 35% of U.S. adults now. So an increasingly connected consumer base are using these networks. More than half of their time is spent on digital networks today. And as you know, 75% of the U.S. adult population is on Facebook to some degree. And I know that most of you have Facebook accounts, but what Gary would tell you and what I'd agree with is that while almost 10% of every adult's time is spent on devices and in networks, we're only spending probably 1% or less of our effort and thought into how can we leverage this for our benefit. And the interesting thing about this book in the title, which is kind of unusual, Jab, 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 Right Hook, has to do with boxing. And what Gary would tell you and what I'd agree with is that the days of one-way marketing, newspaper ads, television or radio commercials, it's not as effective anymore. And for the price especially, it's not as effective anymore. That's all changing because people don't want this one-way type of generalized communication. They want to be engaged. They want to be entertained. They want to love the brands they want to do business with and appreciate them. So Gary's idea in the boxing world is that to be successful in marketing with these types of platforms in use, you want to jab very effectively with content so that when you look to do business and transact, which he would term the right hook, your success rate around conversion is going to be a lot better than if you kept approaching it like these old style, old thinking marketing approaches on the digital platform. I'm going to get into 6 areas that he would define as great storytelling and content and what attributes those should have. And let me caution you by telling you that getting to the sweet spot for your gym or club around this kind of concepts aren't things that you're going to necessarily do overnight. But these principles are some of the ones that he shares, and I agree with them. So the first of the 6 as to what makes great content is the content needs to be native. And what that means is some content is much more effective on certain platforms than on other platforms. So for example, if I'm going to share content on Instagram, that's not necessarily the same content I'm going to want to share on Twitter. So we want to make sure that we are sharing content, the type of content that people want in the networks that they're on. The second point of the 6 is we don't want our content to interrupt, like old world advertising. We're not there to intrude on the experiences people are having on these various digital networks. If they're looking for entertainment and a certain type of entertainment, we want to be that entertainment around our brand. That won't then make it seem like we're interrupting, and that's a much more effective way to jab our prospects and customers. The third one is we don't want the content to make demands often, okay? We don't want to be constantly making an offer and a deal, trying to close the business with folks too fast. We don't want to do that. Our content should be simple, it should be attractive, memorable, fun, and entertaining. When we do make an ask, we want it to be done very appropriately, but we don't want to do that frequently. I would say less than 10% of the time as a general rule. The fourth out of the sixth one I love, which is our content should really leverage pop culture. You know, what kind of music do we love that our customers love? What kind of celebrities do we relate to? An interesting link might be the Beach Boys music connected to the original Venice Beach Gold's Gym. You know, these are things that people very much identify, these iconic cultural symbols that people really are very heartfelt about. And that's a very effective thing to do with your content. The fifth point he makes out of the six is the content needs to be thought of as micro. And that means it's small. It should be thought of as tiny pieces of information and experience that support the brand and really leverage opportunities that are going on. A great example is Oreo. So in 2013, with the Super Bowl, you might recall that the lights went out. And Oreo was very smart. They have a very advanced social media team. They tweeted, "Power out, no problem," and attached was a picture of an Oreo that said, "You can still dunk in the dark." Well, on Twitter, there was a lot of conversation going on around the Super Bowl. There was a lot of things that people were discussing, and that was a great way of taking a micro opportunity and leveraging it immediately to be relevant to the moment and reinforce the brand. So we've got to think of the content in micro terms. And then the sixth point he makes that I agree with is, the content needs to be consistent and self-aware. There needs to be some running through common themes. And I know, of course, with the goals brand, be stronger than, and making people stronger, that's a great thematic. To the extent we're being fun and entertaining and doing the things that we've described around content, we need to have that kind of common thread through it out so that people know what the brand represents. So the wonderful thing about this book is the number of examples it provides. It goes into each platform and shows you some very excellent examples of what works and what doesn't, which I think is just very, very valuable. And that's why I really, really like the book. Blair, as well as I, are Saints fans. One of the examples is Reggie Bush on Facebook, who's very, very human in the way he deals with his Facebook content as a brand. An excellent example. But there are many others. Gap, Lululemon, some other fitness brands. A very, very excellent reference tool. So I hope this helps you kind of reshape your thinking about how to use digital marketing in new ways to help build your business. As I mentioned, it's a very complicated subject. You need to spend some time researching it, and I'm happy to answer any specific questions around your club to see how you might want to leverage the things that Gary and I have shared here today with you. You can reach me at my website at brianko'rourke.com, or just Google my name, Brian with a Y, O'Rourke, and reach out to me so I can give you some more specifics as to how these principles can really help leverage digital marketing to drive improvements in your goal gym and your business. And thanks for taking time to listen. I hope these tips were very valuable for you, and I look forward to sharing more thoughts in the near future on social media and digital marketing. Take care.